In this video, I'll be covering 10 YouTube channels under 10,000 subscribers that I think are worth checking out. The list won't be in any particular order and will range from lifestyle vloggers to filmmaking channels to, well, you'll see. Also, if you haven't seen the last time I've done this a year ago, watch that video over here, or in the description. But without further ado, number 1, Chantel V Shots. Starting out with a fellow Toronto area resident, Chantel is a videographer, photographer, and editor who documents some of her creative moments, turning them into well-told stories. She's worked her way from creating video content as a hobby to working a full-time schedule as a creative, working events, commercial shoots, and for creators like Chris Howe. I first came across her content after meeting her when she was doing photography for Buffer Festival this past year. I found her Instagram and learned that she also makes great videos that seem to just keep getting better. One of her recent videos is about how she spent time with a group of other young creators and reflecting on how that fit with her time as a flight attendant, getting little notes from passengers, and I won't spoil it, but I will say the pacing, editing, and storytelling is very well done, and it's no wonder that Chris Howe, popular in the photo video space, hired her as one of his editors. Number 2, Life of Riza. Carissa Santos is another person whose content I discovered at Buffer Festival. She premiered her film, Why Being Bored is a Good Thing, in the documentary category, and I loved it. It was about, well, why being bored is a good thing, and how that allows us to pay attention to what's around us and actually allow our creativity to flourish. The shot compositions, the pacing, and general storytelling prowess was excellent. I went back to check out her other videos and they were also great. If you've ever watched Nathaniel Drew, her content actually kind of reminds me a bit of that. Kind of like that sort of soft ambient lighting and like nice composition and the editing and just general like vibes. And while she doesn't post too often, I do still think it's worth it to subscribe for when the next video comes out. Number 3, Beckysphere Climate Corner. Switching gears to someone covering a different topic with a different style, Becky Hogue makes mostly news, updates, and commentary videos about US-based and international climate news. Her recurring series, The Climate Recap, recaps various climate-related news, which I feel like gives a nice overview into what's going on before clicking through to the full articles she mentions. Now, depending on how you feel about climate change and how to go about tackling it, you might not agree with her stances on everything, but it does seem like she does want to see and acknowledge bipartisan action towards climate solutions, and she raises some good points. Now, with regard to video style, given her background is in environmental science and not video production, her style is much more simple and to the point than maybe some of the other people on this list. But I can certainly see that changing as she improves and keeps going and making videos. It still gets the job done. Next is Paige Saunders, who makes videos about housing, transit, and building livable communities. He also makes videos on other topics about Montreal, graffiti, and even magnet fishing for a bike in a river. Of course, depending on how much you agree or disagree with the ideas of urbanism, whatever that means, you may or may not agree with what he has to say. But I found that the way he presents his points is very well researched, generally, and to the point. While I don't always agree with his stances on things, I do think that his assessment on his topics are generally pretty well thought out. Topics aside, his video making abilities are great. His editing skills, along with motion graphics style, really helped to communicate his points. He even did a whole 40-minute interview with Canadian YouTuber JJ McCullough, where he did a whole bunch of tracking and various techniques to animate a bunch of graphics to support the content in a way that I hardly ever see for such a long conversation. So yeah, I recommend his channel. Next up is Local Motives. Going back to climate-focused creators, Local Motives is a channel focused on telling stories of climate change effects and solutions in a documentary format. While Becky covers larger news stories like policy changes and things like that, this channel, run by two friends traveling the US, documents the smaller stories where climate change affects tangible everyday people. Their stories range from local Louisiana restaurants recycling oyster shells to restore local coastal reefs, to a Wyoming cooperative offering experience-based river tours to educate the people about the natural waterways. Their style is quite subtle, and while they do often participate in the activities of their subjects, they tend to be a lot less in your face with their interviews. I would say that the result is still a very poignant documentary. Next is John Gross. Switching from climate-focused creators to creators that explore the beauty of their environment brings us to John Gross. He's someone I've brought on this channel before to talk about his travel-focused content, largely about life in Chile, and have even mentioned about how he had surpassed 100,000 subscribers. So if he has that many subscribers, why mention him in this video? Well, unfortunately, about a year ago, he had to make the decision to leave Chile after there were some issues getting his wife's permanent residency approved. They decided they still love South America and moved to Ecuador in the Quito area with their young son. So John decided to start a new channel focused on his adventures in Ecuador. I've spoken a lot on my previous channel, currently on hiatus, about his vlogging skills, and they've since improved even more. However, he recently decided to use less of his big mirrorless Sony camera and focus on using his GoPro for capturing most of his adventures. Part of this is to reduce the risk and cost of gear getting stolen, but it also makes things lighter for him and also helps him to really focus on the story he's telling. Creativity most often comes from restrictions, after all. So I'd recommend checking out his channel to see what'll happen next. Next up is Dan King, who's another travel-focused content creator that I've covered on my other channel, currently on hiatus, and have even spent a day traveling with him. Dan lives on Vancouver Island in British Columbia and has been making me jealous of that temperate Van Isle weather ever since I started watching his content. Since I last spoke about him, he's made more videos, recovered from a big injury, and even ended up making a TV series. If you like nature vlogs and seeing the beautiful Pacific Northwest landscape of Vancouver Island, his content is worth checking out. Number 8, Soul Ride with Stay and Rach. This is a channel that I think I found through a comment on a Yes Theory video or something like that. The reason why that's relevant is because if you've ever seen Yes Theory videos, especially the earlier ones, they have a very similar vibe. There are a couple who make videos similar to Yes Theory, from inviting strangers to a remote pizzeria they created, to finding and spending time with a former X Factor contestant, to, well, a lot of stuff involving talking to strangers. Much of this follows the Yes Theory Seek Discomfort motto. Now you might be asking, why watch this content when you can easily go and watch Yes Theory videos? Well, they're not exactly like them. Yes, while their pacing, motion graphics, and editing style is reminiscent of Yes Theory, they're starting to develop their own voice. Now of course it's obvious that they are different people and they're telling different stories because they're different people, but I actually think that it's a good thing that they started off copying elements of Yes Theory's style. Not just so that they can be a clone, but so that they can take those skills and techniques that they've learned and begin to use them in a way that seems more natural to them and their vision. I definitely think that they're a channel to look out for. Number 9 is Are Things Swell? Going from a channel that goes all out to this channel, which is a guy who makes really short videos answering the same question every day. Are things swell today? I'm not joking, this channel has over 1,400 videos of him saying things in the same format of
It is June 29th, 2019, and things are swell today.
It is December 28th, 2019, and things are swell today. Things are swell today.
It seems like the first video was posted back in December 11th, 2018, and it seems that he's been doing this every single day for the past 4 years. He has all the videos in a playlist answering the one central question. He even has a website, arethingswell.com, that, well, I won't spoil it. Now, this started off as a joke entry, but I'm genuinely impressed by someone who can do something like this for so long. And I think the Vlog Brothers were right in saying that one of the best things that you can do for content is to commit to the bit. And lastly, Avery Talks About Stuff. Those of you who watch my content are no stranger to Avery. She's been in 2 of my videos and I've been in a bunch of hers. She reacts to and covers content that she considers nostalgic, obscure, or otherwise strange, usually retro movies and TV shows. Some good, some bad, some weird. Seriously, some of them can get quite long, and some of them can get really weird. But despite that, the videos were actually a bit of a comfort watch for me when I was stressed out last year from my previous job. It's a nice escape and something you can put on maybe even while you're doing something else. Don't worry, she won't be offended. She told me that she appreciates the watch time. I even recently got the chance to fly out to Atlanta to visit her and her family. We also filmed some videos for her channel, which you can watch right now by clicking right over here. So, see you over there.